It's a lovely 26 degrees Celsius in Lagos, the Nigeria's commercial capital. I'm so used to saying the Federal Capital Territory, but I'm in the commercial nerve center this morning. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Maokpe Oguyusuf.
Good morning and welcome from Abuja here. It's a very lovely morning. It's been raining for days and days and days. And even though it puts a damper on things sometimes, we're grateful for the weather. Good morning and welcome this Friday morning. I am Kayla Magwa.
No dampener here, Kayla, I can tell you that. In the city of Lagos, no dampener here. And even if you are having a damp day, your daily dose of sunshine is here. And this morning...
Indeed, we're here.
You can say that again, Kayla. Well, driving through the streets of Lagos this morning and getting to work got me thinking again about the city of Lagos. Kayla, I know that there's so much to look at, talking about the political scene. We have been speaking of it getting hot on the political scene for the past few days now, well, I say weeks, looking at what has been happening with the coalition. And now political parties are gearing up to hold their NEC. As a matter of fact, the All Progressives Congress held its NEC yesterday, and the most unlikely candidate emerged as the national chairman of the party. But I know that we'll be talking about that shortly with our guest, whom I assume is already seated in our studios in Abuja. But here in Lagos, the reason why people go into politics, which is supposed to be about service to the people, came to the fore yesterday, especially at the book launch, which I was privileged to attend, chronicled by the Oniru of Iruland, Oba Abdulwasiu Omogbolahon Lawal, who is the Oniru of Iruland. He is not just a custodian of tradition. I mean, in recent times, he was appointed about 5 years ago, or will I say he was coronated about 5 years ago in the year 2020. However, he's also served in cabinet. 3 different administrations he served in Lagos State as commissioner. And yesterday, he said he was provoked into writing this book, which is now written. It's titled From City to Mega City, a memoir of Lagos urbanization, 1999 to 2023, essentially chronicling his time and what he's witnessed on the front lines while he's been in office or while he served in the cabinet of Lagos State. And it was quite a time to really reflect and think about, you know, what exactly service, what exactly governance is supposed to be about. After politicians have done all of this work to be in office, how do they eventually serve? Now, talking about his provocation, he said that, oh, he was at an event where somebody just said that, you know, Lagos State has not done anything, more or less like, you know, Lagos just happened. And given the amount of work that they know that they put in the cabinet while he was there, you know, he just thought that it would be a huge disservice to all of their time there if he did not at least put that down. And thinking about it, well, it was also his birthday. How many people think about writing books, you know, to commemorate their birthday, and even more so, someone who is now a traditional ruler. You would think that oftentimes, you know, they're content with oral traditions, but not this particular Oba, which I think is highly commendable. So it got me thinking about, you know, our politicians and how it is that they need to put the people first in this season. I heard the president say yesterday that the grassroots are still complaining, and he told the governors that they need to water the grass. Water the grass some more, he said, or wet the grass some more, if that's what I heard. I don't know. I'm sure the analysts will have a lot to say about that particular statement. But, Kayla, I just thought it was important to at least let you know why it is that, you know, we're appearing here in Lagos. Very important message. I want to believe that those at the helm of affairs in Lagos State will not drop the ball. It was really good to you know, drive on, what I say, on traffic-free roads. That was particularly important coming to work this morning. And I dare say it was highly commendable to see everyone at their duty post. But Kayla, it's back now to you to look at contemporary issues.
Indeed, and Duke, we can come back. This love that you're having for the roads. The roads, yeah, good. You should come back. It's enough. All right, so back to what we have to talk about first thing this morning. We're taking a look at some of the major stories this week. It's been a very interesting week in the nation's capital. In fact, speaking of NEC meetings, there's another NEC meeting holding today. I think it's for the SDP. So it's the season of NECs. But joining us to talk about some of the major stories this morning, Professor Udenta joins us this morning, founding National Secretary of the Alliance for Democracy.
It's a pleasure to be with you once more.
Thank you.
I don't know whether you disappeared or whether I disappeared.
I don't know
why.
I really have no idea.
I'm happy we're back together.
Yeah, but what's good is that we're here.
We're here.
All right.
It's fantastic.
Next, let's start with the People's Democratic Party. One of the issues that people have had with the People's Democratic Party, we see them talk tough, but there's no actual discipline when it comes to it. There are people who have done all kinds of things. In the PDP, working for the APC, anti-party activity, vowing to support a candidate who is not from the party. These are some of the things that we're looking at the PDP and wondering, okay, wait, when you're talking about how you're consolidating, what about the discipline that is supposed to be involved when it comes to these sorts of situations? Are they just talking, or are they going to make any impact this time?
It's important to lay this issue before Nigerians. That's what we're doing here. We're not having a personal conversation. We are conversing, but for the interest of the Nigerian public. You know, the doomsday sayers or the naysayers concerning the PDP have been put to the sword, reasonably, put. Nobody thought the party will even get to where it is. And my passion for the PDP isn't because I'm a member. I'm not a member. It's because I belong to that legacy party generation. You said it, Alliance for Democracy National Secretary, 1998. That's when PDP was born. That's the last standing. My party imploded into pieces from AC to ACN, now to APC somewhere. Then APP, as then was, from AMPP to now APC. PDP is the only one standing with this brand and original name. That's the responsibility of Nigerians to rally around and keep that party. It's part of what they want around there. And it is happening. The party has issues. Let me break the issues down for you before I come to the NEC that I had yesterday. Resoundingly a success. There were three tendencies in the party. The tendency, represented by those who are patriots, who want strategic autonomy for the party, who want the party to stand as a party, to go for the next election on its own terms, to have a candidate that's going to give the APC president a run for his money. That tendency is marshaled by the chairman of the governors forum of the party, the governor of Bauchi State. You will see the political role has been playing. Whichever the meetings, was the main NEC meeting we had in the lodge of the Bauchi State government. Both the governors forum meeting, which he chairs, and then the caucus of the party, of course, is the conscience of the party, the overarching institutional framework the party will rely on to push it forward. That's where they took those critical decisions that led to a successful NEC. That is one tendency. There's a tendency of certain characters in the party who want the party to be diminished, to dissolve, and break up into pieces to benefit President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the APC in 2027. We know who the people are. There's no point in talking about them, but there's a tendency.
Are they still in the party?
They're being gradually being evacuated out of the party. We have the vacuum cleaner. You clean them out. The patriots are cleaning them out, and Nigerians are patriotically rallying down this tendency of keeping the party alive.
Are they being vacuumed out, or are they leaving?
Oh, no, because if you're entrenched as a mole, on this stage I talked about Wesleyans. It's a term from the Second World War about generals who did well for their country but betrayed their country and suffered the pains of betrayal and treachery. They're there. Once you're planted in there to say, you are not leaving, it simply means you are doing the bidding of somebody else, the president. And the party called APC. That's why you find defections and counter-defections all over the place to weaken this brand and other brands too, to make it easy for him for leisurely re-entry in 2027. There's another brand, there's another tendency. Those who do not want the party to survive, but they don't want to go to APC.
This is what you talked about. The last group you talked about, it does feel like the president is winning in that regard.
No, you see,
You don't think
as I said, there are three tendencies. The tendency of the patriots. As I said, marshaled by the governor of Bauchi State and other leaders, the party chairman, Jerry Ganadem, the stakeholders who came, founders who came to rally around the party. There's a tendency of those who want the party to simply permeate itself into APC. There's another tendency of those who do not want to enter APC but want the party to decompose. You find some of them in ADC now. These are people you find as nomads in ADC from the PDP. Because if they remain in the PDP and fortify its ranks and win away the Wesleyans, the party will become stronger. So the fact that you do not want to stay within the party in order to accomplish this noble objective means that you have some other intent. We'll come to that later if you're going to present that issue of ADC.
Yes.
Now, if you have a NEC of a party that has successfully covered by NEC, by 5 NEC officials from what I learned, monitored it, you find the party resolving on the date and location of this convention. Specific date, specific location, sitting 15th, 16th of November. Then you find a party going to rebrand itself upon the election of new officers to put to rest the factionalizations and polarizations and so on, and recriminations of the past. The party will take from that November to the end of December to reaffirm its ranks because already a built-up infrastructure across the country.
Let's talk about the zoning of the presidency to the south. And I have to do this, right? So let me explain to you. Okay. When it comes to the zoning to the south, there are many people who are looking at the party and thinking, how? Which southerner is going to beat President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2027? Some people think that was a very dicey move. And saying, look, even though you know, we're looking at a presidency that's supposed to be zoned to the south for the next 8 years. The truth is, for many people, that you know, you're not going to get a candidate from there who can beat this man. Why don't you go to the north?
Let me put it this way. Election will be held on around February, March 2027.
Yes.
This is July 2025. We're making this conversation now rather than governance, rather than policies, because the president and his team panicked. What we're doing is what we're doing a year plus down the line. So it is, the time frame is enormous in politics. A day is a lifetime to talk about the zoning. PDP will do that before the convention. If they take it to the south, be rest assured, a southern candidate, here and there, we beat this president convincingly and resoundingly in the next election. We can do the mathematics later, not in this program. Invite me on a special program to do the demographic breakdown and the geography of power in the country, and I'll prove to you why it is even almost impossible for a northerner to be the sitting president from a vegetarian ethnic group.
So one of the questions people have about the zoning issue is also the fact that, hold on a second, former President Muhammadu Buhari has died, and many people keep talking about that cult following he had. There are arguments as to whether it was real or not, of course, but, you know, consolidating on northern votes, because it's almost become like a consensus in this country that you can't win the presidential election without the north. Okay, let's put it this way. It wasn't a need, because empirically the record is there from 2003, 2007, 2011, and 15 when he won. The INEC has the record. We have the record public to see how many votes have they been able to garner in the north. Between 9 and 12 million votes. They're genuine votes. They're real. Whether they have, dispersed into tiny tributaries of power here and there with this exit, only time will tell in 2027. But the critical issue that the north, is immensely diverse geographies. If you look at what happened in 2023, a southern candidate with very little apparatus behind him, P2B, did well in FCT. I think he beat the other party in FCT. Beat them in Nasarawa State. That's north. FCT is substantially north anyway. Nasarawa State, Benue State, Plateau State. Did well in Taraba, did well in southern Kaduna. But that's actually the minorities of the north and the Christian geography of the north and so on. What is left was even left in that, that war of attrition or insurgency he mounted is how do you now move into the into the Fulani corridor from Sokoto Caliphate down and move into the Burundi corridor, the Kanuri corridor. That's what is left. As we the party represent such a candidate and supplies that missing link from the Kanuri corridor and the Fulani corridor, Northwest corridor, Northeast corridor, to make up for the deficiencies of that pizza movement that maybe stops somewhere in the middle belt. That's going to be a resounding success for such a party. So what the PDP needs to do is a strategic zoning. Strategic recomposition of his own understanding of power to say you have a certain president, and the moral imperative is that you should have a servant to complete that tenure until 2031, when the North will come back again and take what belongs to the North. That's how a young nascent democracy should function. How do you combine competence, efficiency with inclusion, with this kind of multiple geographies and zoning arrangement there and rotation of power to keep the elite, happy in a unified form and the people carried along in an inclusive format? That is why the PDP NEC and coming convention is very important, and I should be on it. All right, strategic zoning. Let's move on to the APC.
Okay.
A new national chairman for the APC. A very peaceful election that they did. Yeah. They've been patting themselves on the back, saying, "Look, see how organized we are. See how we got a national chairman."
Let me tell you.
And moving into the North Central, acquiescing to the questions people have been asking about where the national chairman of the APC should come from. So Mr. Nentawe, Professor Nentawe, has been picked. And they feel like they're really ready, the APC. They're positioning themselves. They seem pretty organized. They're swelling in their ranks. And they said they're going to be able to stay in power even longer than 2027.
The way the second of PDP made for 1,000 years.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Now, sometimes we talk about peace of the graveyard.
Is that what this is, the peace of the graveyard?
You've spoken. Let me answer the question. The peace is composed of certain elements. Robust peace that is active and alive. And the peace of the graveyard, a product of plutocratic construct of power. We have a plutocrat, almost like somebody with a divine way to power, with omniscient presence. Says, my will must prevail. And every minion, including the Senate President, the Speaker, and party leaders, will cower in fear and fright. When they have a Dan Gandhi, former chairman, that slunk into oblivion because he said he was sick, we don't know. Then they have now, as Mobe said, it wasn't like an irregular choice or an unexpected choice. This fellow was INEC National Commissioner for years. And they say he superintended 7 critical states and elections. So you had to have somebody who should have played a role, as an umpire that is objective, impartial, and above board, being now curated and meandered into the party as a chairman with all the tricks up the sleeve of INEC. Yet I know whether INEC has a good institutional reputation or not. So INEC why he's obscure and anonymous, that's what we can say for sure. But that obscurity is to hide that identity as an INEC National Commissioner. It's important we deposit it here. So a plutocratic presidency, an INEC commissioner coming to be a chairman of a ruling party is a recipe for disaster for the country. So we talked here on this stage here about hybrid regime, emasculating in multi-party democratic development.
Alluding to are you saying that there might be collusion as a result of the fact that he has that INEC background? Are you saying that there will be collusion when it comes to votes?
It is for Nigerians here watching me and you to say, you have an obscure individual, relatively unknown, names I can't even pronounce, who they now brought out from obscurity and anonymity and took him above his peers as national chairman, because there's an imperial president and imperial presidency that should pretended it. But then there is something as a subtext. National Commissioner for INEC, pretending 7 states, fact-check me, in the past. And there were critical elections in those states there. He has a lot of institutional tricks of INEC up his sleeves. That's part of the condition for hiring him. I'm not talking about collusion in waiting. Collusion has already occurred between the ruling party that is insensitive, to democracy, emasculating
you said you couldn't pronounce his name, so I want to be able to. Professor Nentawe Goshwe Yilwada.
We will learn it.
Yes.
No, listen,
we'll learn it.
We'll learn it down the line. You see, but we know why such obscurity.
Minister of Humanitarian Affairs.
Oh, he was okay. These days.
And did a lot of work. Remember, hold on a second. Remember when he became minister? A lot of people were worried, because of the mess that Humanitarian Affairs was in at the time. And he did come in and bring in some sanity.
On this here, our dear sister who fled to Lagos, and I agree with you, we should bring her back here.
Yes,
we didn't move her back here. Said, an unlikely choice. You see, that means even as a minister of humanitarian affairs, no number. Okay, he does his job, maybe he's efficient in his field there. But in terms of national aura, the potency of that national presence you require for such a huge political position, it's enormous responsibilities.
INEC just the spokesperson of INEC just sent a message, and he wants me to give this message. He says, "Hello, Kayla. The new APC chairman was a resident electoral commissioner.
Oh, a resident,
and not a national commissioner, as your guest is claiming."
Okay, fine.
Yes.
Commissioner. Okay, in several states, not only one state, in several states. I heard he moved around. Can you let me talk back to you again? Say, did he move around several states? Because when he got experience as a resident commissioner of INEC, as the national commissioner, they're the same. The thing is that you're in one state, but if you moved across several states where elections must have held over time, you accumulate experience. You're part of that infrastructure of INEC leadership, whether national commissioner, whether electoral commissioner.
He does seem like a fresh face, doesn't he? He is a fresh face.
The key thing is that
he's a fresh face. Everyone has been talking about Mr. Professor Yowadazmiyen, and he's a technocrat, a professor.
We don't know much about it. We know about his INEC.
It does. In many people believe that this will change the face of how we view politics.
No, I'm
having someone who's a technocrat, who's a little bit more calm and educated and technical in the way you do things.
Okay, like I said, the sense of that obscurity and anonymity is pervasive, and it will erode over time. Because being thrust into the limelight, we make that evaporate over time. For now, we know him as INEC official, who was there for years in INEC, helping with INEC, churning around. We don't know when it was in 2023. The election was a mess. Was he visited the Electoral Commission in 2023? When there was a manipulation, so many people thought about the electoral process.
You must admit, though, that as a party, this was a good choice.
Oh, no, I don't. I'm saying
I know that you've shown your hand politically. We know where you stand politically. But when it comes to the All Progressives Congress, let's be objective now.
Okay, let me put it this way. The objectivity I can bring on this table, what I bring on the table, is that the obscurity of the individual is well plotted. So that you take it away. That's why INEC responded instantly. The Professor Songwea, who was his VC, didn't respond. The technocratic environment didn't respond. INEC responded because they know that the key reason why they appropriated him from INEC and put him there as a minister, now us. And he was a good candidate of APC. As a former INEC, he was the electoral commissioner. Do you know the implication?
I thought what your criticism about him was going to be really was the fact that some people have said
the moral imperative
some people have said that the professor lost an election in his state.
No, I'm not bothered about it.
You don't care about that?
No, I'm not bothered about it. I'm bothered about the fact that they brought an INEC official as a candidate of the party. They brought an INEC official as a minister of the Federal Republic. They brought an INEC visiting commissioner as the chairman of the party. Part of the role of him as a chairman of the party to deliver his party in the next election. He will call up. He's an enormous contact. Look at one of the contacts from INEC. Already talking about this fellow was a electoral commissioner. They know themselves. The chairman of INEC knows it. The next one will even know him. That is what is key for Nigerians to understand today. That this choice from the plutocratic presidency, who seems to know it all, to create and propel an obscure INEC official to this limelight is something that is going to savage further our democratic tradition. All
right, but just so we can put that clearly, the new APC chairman was a resident electoral commissioner and not a national commissioner.
Same.
So resident electoral commissioner. Was a rec. All right. So let's move on now to another story that's been making the rounds. The Labour Party.
Okay.
So, like the People's Democratic Party, for many Nigerians, we're angry.
Oh, sure.
For many Nigerians, we're angry at parties like the Labour Party and angry at parties like the People's Democratic Party. And why is this? It provided an alternative. And something that we thought would be, at least parties that we thought would be able to put the ruling party's foot to the fire, get them to sit up knowing that, look, at least for the Labour Party, felt like a lot of young Nigerians were in support of that party. For the People's Democratic Party, it was a legacy party. A lot of nostalgia when we think about the People's, when those founding fathers came together. I mean, people had tears in their eyes looking at Professor Jerry Ghana and
Jim Obodo.
These are the people that formed our thought process.
That's why they're back.
So watching these parties disintegrate and have all of these issues is pretty disappointing for the Nigerian people. But I want to get your thoughts on the Labour Party crisis and this interim leadership that they've got going right now.
Okay, fine. The parties are not disintegrating. They are reforming themselves.
They're reforming themselves.
Listen, parties,
they're emptying into either the APC or the APC.
Listen, parties are dynamic formations. And these formations aggregate and reaggregate over time. PDP is rebranding itself with more efficiency, more focus. Sometimes when they have burdensome load, when they have characters who are no longer part of the party's vision, you let them off or they go off on their own. There are those who are searching with instantaneous glory, who are looking for a solution to their problem. It could be moral problem. It could be crisis of governance. It could be anything. There's enormous pressure from the ruling party that has disastrously run this country aground. So rather than focusing on APC to run this country, as the way they want to run the country, they are rather permitting other parties in order to destabilize them. I'm happy PDP has gotten its ranks together, got its act together, had a successful NEC, going to do a convention that will be resoundingly successful too. I hear the Labour Party and former running mate of PDP is actually moving from one pillar to other of the party, trying to see whether the party can come back together on board, whether the factions can dissolve into one. These are all part of the political processes, of the ferment in the political system. The election is still far away. So there's not the election in the next 2 or 3 or 4 months. Their convention that will produce candidates of these parties, including that of APC, is almost a year away. A year is a lifetime in politics.
So a lot can happen.
A lot time. PDP will have enough time to not only retool its ranks and rebrand itself, but become more efficient and much more coherent and cohesive. Labour Party may actually achieve the same purpose. ADC, in spite of its congenital abnormalities in terms of its formation, may shed some of those load and become something even stronger down the line. APC, with this bloated, flatulent self, full of gluttony, when overeating, overgrabbing here and there, could implode somewhere down the line.
You're saying it as though the PDP wasn't in that situation.
Oh, well, I mean, maybe that's why the party bloated somewhere.
Because people at some point you were turning members away.
I know that's maybe that's one of the reasons the party couldn't survive for long as a dynamic whole. APC is in that formation now. You find people countering themselves. You find people creeping here and there. You find the party's appetite almost excessive and almost, how do I describe it, unforgiving. So flatulence is when you have this belly and tummy over bloated as APC currently is. A time will come when the enormity of what you have stuffed in, dismantling democratic infrastructure of the country, limiting possibilities of democratic governance, chasing the media, running rebel ground, when all these things are too much for you.
We have 1 more minute, and I want to get your thoughts on the coalition.
The coalition?
The ADC, we heard some of the statements that the president made yesterday. And statements that we've heard people make about the ADC, I'm not going to use those.
The key thing.
Should the APC be scared?
The key thing about ADC is to even look at the statement like someone like Bala Mohammed made, Governor of Bauchi State. He said, some of the PDP members who have shown some nomadic tendencies or misguided tendencies and moved to ADC may find their way back. Some of them may not. Like I said, if your mindset is there to seek for power somewhere else outside the original party you belong to, you will stick there, you will survive there, you will swim and sink with it. ADC's story is a story in the making. It's a story that is evolving. We don't know how the final chapter will be written. That final chapter will be written between now and the next presidential convention, which is going to be around May, July.
Stand a chance, the ADC?
We don't know. For now, PDP for me stand the best chance. If it does a proper zoning that is strategic enough.
You think the PDP stands the better chance than the ADC?
If the PDP does proper zoning that is strategic and foresighted, knowing where the geography of power lies today in Nigeria, which is where the president is from, the party will win the next election. Absolutely.
But the ADC?
ADC, as I said, is an unformed entity for now, structurally speaking, in terms of limited infrastructure across the country. Let us watch and see how these elements, coming from various dimensions, will come together and then decide what's going to be the fate of that party in the next 5, 6, 7, 8 months. Only time will tell.
All right. I'm going to toss it to Lagos. I think Markwe has a few things that she needs to ask you. Go ahead, Markwe.
Well, thank you, Kayla. Just very quickly, I find it very interesting, Professor Udenta, that you're very insistent on this APC chairmanship, the new chairman being from INEC. It's interesting that this objection did not come up when he was minister. For those who are watching, they'll think, oh, he just came from INEC and then became the APC chairman. But a number of people need to remember that there have been quite a few steps where he has shown that he's already clearly partisan within the APC, running for office, and then being minister in this particular cabinet before becoming chairman of the All Progressives Congress. Why are you very insistent on showing this INEC credential of the chairman of the APC?
Well, this is why I'm very insistent. On air here, you spoke about an unlikely choice, maybe because he was a minister, maybe a professor, maybe a technocrat, or maybe because he's not well known. You see, 30-something odd years ago, the ministers of even Babangida as a military president are very well known to us. The people like, like Ransom Kuti, people like Bodeja Kinyemi, people like Kadu Dikakalu. I can keep on naming the names. The last 2, 3 years, we don't even know who the ministers are. That is why Nigerians are possibly in a real state of shock. But for the first minister, okay, fine. Because why be doing what his ministry in a small space is occupying? That's the chairman of a party. So he was an obscure political element, an anonymous political being, and being elevated to this position. We have to dig into his history. The most potent part of that history is that he was INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner. I've been corrected from being a national commissioner. I accept that. But national commissioner, REC, the same. His choice is deriving by the fact that he's very familiar with INEC, coterminous with institutional, embedment within INEC, understands the logic of INEC, and is a party to lead them to power in 2027. That's why they chose him to become the chairman of the party. The INEC relationship, INEC institutional association is key to understanding and dismantling or deconstructing his own personality. That is the most critical thing for anybody to understand. I do know that he was a minister, and very many Nigerians cannot even name 6, 7, 8 of the ministers available, either of the Buhari regime or 8 years, and this one for 2 years and. But I do know the name of the chairman of the political parties, the big parties, the middle parties, and even the small parties. So when he jumped from being a minister, that's why he resigned as a minister. If the job as a minister is bigger than that of a party chairman, he was simply a minister president. Allow me to continue doing the work I'm doing as your minister. This is a massive call. a big one to do, and that is why he jumped for it. And why did they pick him? He was a resident commissioner for INEC for several years and covered so many states. That is what Nigeria should focus on. If I were the leaders of the opposition parties, this is where my own line of agitation is going to fall on.
All right, then. I think it's a fine place to leave it. That clarification has been made. And, well, we'll wait to see if there'll be a response by the All Progressives Congress on that particular allegation. Because what you seem to be suggesting is that there could be a sinister plot for INEC.
It's not an allegation. He was a wreck. It wasn't an allegation. He was a wreck.
No, what I'm saying is that, yes, the fact that he was a wreck, you seem to be insinuating that him being a wreck, there could be plans for INEC, I mean, from the All Progressives Congress, from the ruling party. I'm not
insinuating. I'm saying that he was choosing. I'm saying that he was choosing carefully, curated from obscurity to this high position because of the INEC background. Part of it.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not going to be as a master of the universe with all the knowledge.
So I'm
part of the reason why they curated him.
I'm clarifying that your insinuation is that as a result of his background knowledge of the workings of INEC, that perhaps you are suggesting that there could be a plan, an untoward plan perhaps for INEC come 2027. Is that what you're suggesting?
Let me ask you. You're a very brilliant media person. I know that. I've been on conversations with you for a long time. If in next 5, 2, 3, 4 years' time, they pluck you from this beautiful channel to somewhere you're going to do strategic communication for an entity, am I going to ask you a question whether they picked you there because of your deep knowledge of the media and strategic communication? Sure, that's the reason why. So I'm not insinuating anything. He was an INEC wreck, covered several states, pretended elections, mass knowledge. And we know INEC as an institutional establishment has a lot of moral disorders, and ethical challenges. So somebody who is a prime element within that body to now become the chairman of the ruling party, there's no way can divorce the two. So it's for the party to now separate it. But Nigerians have already understood why this choice was made.
All right, it's back down to you, Kayla.
All right, well, it's a very interesting one. I know that a lot of responses are going to come out from what's
sure.
Today.
I'm ready for that response.
Are you ready?
On this stage.
Because someone just sent me a message. Can I give you questions someone asked me?
I don't have time to deal with it.
Ask Professor Udenta, if the man is so embedded in INEC and able to be... Why didn't they rig his election in Plateau State and make him governor? If he was in the APC and still had that connection to INEC, how come he lost the election in Plateau State?
The answer is a simple one. When a party is completely absent in a state, APC was absent in Plateau State during that last election for obvious strategic reasons and reasons of geography, and faith and identity within there. It will be criminal even to try because the bloodshed that will occur will be massive. Sometimes people reach where they're relatively strong, where they get away with it. They couldn't have reached where they could have gotten away with it. In Plateau, it was impossible to rig him. And I do know that the processes that produced him even as a candidate, because I've been digging in, was a little bit flawed. We know who the former governor was that papped him, and when that governor left office as a minister, he brought him on board as a minister. Now they have now shepherded him into this high position from the relative obscure position he was occupying. But then,
Professor Nentawe Goshwe Yilwada, who is the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress right now, he has a right of reply. So with time, I'm sure there'll be some kind of response.
As I said, Kelly, on this stage here, on this matter and any other matter,
yes,
I'm here available.
Okay.
Pick a phone and call me for their reply.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much for being with us this morning, Professor Udenta, founding National Secretary of the Alliance for Democracy.
It's a pleasure to be with you, as always. Thank you. We've
got a short break, and when we come back, we've got more conversation. This time, it's got to do with health. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Indeed, Kayla did tell you that we're shifting gears, and this time around we're looking at the crux of governance, which is, why people are in government, and which is to protect and save the lives of people whom they preside over. But in this instance, sadly, we've lost 13 lives in Niger State as a result of cholera. This morning, we're looking at that particular issue because cholera had been predicted. Usually in the rainy season, we do get incidences of cholera outbreak. But in Niger State, this incident had come to the fore because of the floods that happened in May in Mokwa local government area. Part of what analysts had warned of was the issue of an outbreak of cholera. Interestingly, this outbreak is not in Mokwa local government area. It's happening in other local government areas such as Boso, Mina, Magama, Bida, and Munya local government areas. So the question is, have we paid so much attention to Mokwa, leaving out other areas of Niger State where this outbreak has now been reported? Well, joining us to discuss it, we have the pioneer chairman of the Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Ibrahim Dangana. Thank you so much, Dr. Ibrahim, for joining us this morning. I believe that you can hear me, so I'm just going to ask the very first question. Okay, well, oh dear, I understand that Dr. Dangana was having troubles joining us. It was just there a moment ago, and it does appear that we are having an issue connecting with him. But this is a situation in Niger State where our correspondent is reporting that over 13 lives leading to the hospital, 13 lives have been lost, and over 236 individuals have been hospitalized as a result of this cholera outbreak that has now happened in Niger State, affecting about 6 local government areas. Well, I understand we have Dr. Ibrahim Dangana back with us. As I did introduce him earlier, he is the Commissioner of the Primary Healthcare Development Agency in Niger State. Good morning, and thank you for joining us, Dr. Dangana.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, this is a situation. We know that every rainy season, we usually will have these incidences of cholera across different parts of the country. It does appear that Niger State is recording its own incidents about now. I think it's about the first being reported, you can correct me if I'm wrong, across the country. There had been a prediction that this could happen in Niger State as a result of the floods that happened in Mokwa in May this year. But it's unclear if this incident that has now happened is linked to what had happened in Mokwa local government area. Are there any linkages?
No, not at all. There are no linkages with the current cholera outbreak in the state to the flood that occurred in Mokwa. There is no linkage. To get things straight, cholera is an endemic disease in Nigeria, but it usually peaks during the rainy season. The current 6 local government areas affected in the state does not include Mokwa, where the flood disaster happened.
Indeed, I mean, I already noted that, but some people will say, okay, is it possible that as a result of paying a lot of attention, because, when we predict something in a particular area as a result of a disaster, resources will go towards that area. Perhaps as a result of that, other areas now suffer. Do you think that maybe not directly linked, but indirectly, would you agree that that could be a situation that has now happened in Niger?
No, not necessarily. If you look at the NDC data from the Nigerian Centers for Disease and Control, from the 1st of January this year to date, a total of 25 states have reported cholera cases. We've recorded a total of 1,149 cholera cases with 28 deaths across various states of the Federation. So this is just happening because it is the rainy season, and we know the factors or the risk factors responsible for cholera transmission. The key thing here is to sensitize people, because cholera is usually transmitted from contaminated food and water sources. So you have to increase the risk communications to various communities. But cholera is endemic with us, and occasionally uses sporadic spikes in the occurrence of cases like we are witnessing currently in Niger State.
One of the areas, or one of the ways to prevent cholera, is through upgrading the WASH program, which the UN, United Nations, has been championing, this sanitization and stopping open defecation, etc. Because at the end of the day, this is what it usually results into. And a number of, initiatives have been on board. Some states have taken it up. And in some instances, we understand that some states have been successful in getting rid of open defecation in their states. For instance, Jigawa State, these are not my statistics, these are statistics from the UN agency that oversees this WASH program. How would you say that Niger State is faring in this regard?
Yeah, there are ongoing efforts to strengthen the public laws across the state, and also to provide more public toilet facilities, especially within crowded areas like market areas, the motor parks, and other places. However, it's not just open defecation alone that contributes to the transmission of cholera. Like we said, you could have overflowing during the rain seasons that will affect drainages, that will affect the waterways. So these are some of the risk factors. And of course, people have to have a high level of personal hygiene and environmental sanitation. So in this case, it's multi-sectoral, of course, like you said, involving quite a number of government agencies, the Water Resources, Environmental, Ministry of Environment, the State Agency for Environmental Protection, and of course, even some other agencies that have a part to play in terms of wash and sensitization. So across the states, there are quite a lot of attempts to strengthen intersectoral collaboration, and a lot is being done. And currently, there are also ongoing reviews to strengthen the law setting up these agencies. We aim to also achieve a zero tolerance to open defecation, just as part of contributory measures to control this menace.
So right now, what are the measures that you're putting in place? We know that over 236 individuals, we understand, have now been hospitalized across different areas of your state. This clearly looks like some sort of emergency that seems to be coming up, because it's unclear how, if we're going to be able to mitigate this, or whether we're going to see more patients reporting at the hospitals. So what plans do you have in place for either of the scenarios?
So, of course, we are succeeding in the attempt to control the infection across the state. What we've done is we have activated the State Emergency Operations Center and the Incident State Rapid Response Teams. We have deployed consumables, essential supplies, including intravenous fluids, to all the affected communities. We have identified the Cholera Treatment Center, CTC units, across all the 25 local government areas in the state. The good thing is we are not making effort in just the affected local government areas. Of course, we are reaching out to the entire nooks and crannies of the state. We have deployed all our teams currently. We have reached more than 16,000 school children. We have visited a lot of schools, churches, mosques, places of religious and social gatherings. We've sensitized the state. We have distributed education and other EC materials. And of course, we are regularly on the air and the media sensitizing people about the importance of environmental sanitation, personal hygiene, and also being very careful about the sources of water they use and also their food. And for people to also sort of sanitize the water they use. It could be by way of boiling, but at the home front level, with the support of partners like UNICEF and the WHO, we have distributed a lot of water sanitizing agents to this household. I think so far we have reached more than 14,000 households across different communities within the span of the last 2 weeks. So we are succeeding. We are getting results from the effort that we have deployed in the field. And of course, one of the key things we're doing is we have activated the disease surveillance across all the 25 local government areas, and we're involved in active case searching.
Okay, I was just about to ask you about the other local government areas, because we see that 6 local government areas. Where these local government areas where this disease has now been reported, this disease outbreak has now been reported, did you think that they were high candidates for this sort of outbreak, the outbreak of this disease? Are there areas where you constantly see this outbreak year in, year out?
No. Cholera can be sporadic. Like I told you, we live in a cholera endemic country, and it usually peaks during the rainy season, presumably because you could have, flooding that, like I explained earlier, will affect drains and other sources of water supplies with contamination. So they are not particularly prone to they do not display higher risks than the local government areas. But like we said, the epicenter is around 2 LGAs, which then spreads to additional 4. But measures put in place currently are working to contain further spread of the disease.
Okay, it's good to know. I mean, the words I was looking for was the risk, high risk areas. And it's good to know that you're putting in place, other measures for other local government areas. But I'd just like to also find out from you, what it is, because you have mentioned over and over again that cholera is endemic to us here in Africa, and every year we see this outbreak during the rainy season. However, as a result of seeing it, shouldn't we have by now, you know, will I say, a high awareness of what could be happening? Shouldn't medical personnel have a high level of suspicion, I think that's the word they use, a high level of suspicion when certain cases are presented, so that we do not necessarily lose lives? 13 people being lost to cholera in Niger State alone is quite worrisome, don't you agree?
Yeah, but unlike other cases, you do not really need a high level of suspicion. Once you report a case of gastroenteritis, acute watery diarrhea, of course, we treat such cases as cholera. But we've deployed rapid diagnostic test kits even in the field. So for all the affected LGAs and indeed all the other ones, once any case of diarrhea has been reported, that we treat it immediately as a case of cholera until proven otherwise. The goal is to provide prompt treatments to affected victims, because cholera is lethal and can dehydrate the victim within hours, leading to death. So what you need to know is that beyond the medical personnel alone, like I said, it's a wash disease. The environment has to be very clean. We have to be top-notch in terms of evacuating refuse collections within our environment. We have to ensure that we have potable water supplies to various communities. And of course, these are developmental challenges, but the state with the leadership of Mr. Governor is doing everything it can to ensure that these issues are being resolved. They are developmental challenges, but we've coordinated closely with our sister NDAs. Currently, we are supplying portable water supply to the affected communities, and the environmental sanitation is up and about, ensuring that there are prompt evacuation of refuse across all the LGAs, not just the affected sites.
Would you say that there is a sense of urgency? Because I mean, you're speaking right now, and it does appear that, you know, you have very clearly things that you ought to do, but you've also said that these are developmental challenges. The sense of urgency with which we need to tackle this so it doesn't spread and we don't record more loss of lives, would you say it is presently on the ground in Niger State?
Indeed it is. Indeed it is. And the governor is very much involved in our coordination effort. So the goal now is to sensitize, reach the maximum number of people, and need everyone with the clear message and sensitization that, look, we have this outbreak going on. People should be very aware to increase their level of personal hygiene, environmental hygiene, and ensure that they watch their sources of water and the sources of food to avoid any form of contamination. Hand washing hygiene education is going on across all the schools in Niger State. So I think we have saturated the media with the key messaging that people need to know to take actions to prevent being infected.
All right, I understand my colleague Kayla has a question for you. Over now to you, Kayla.
I listened to you earlier, and you were talking about how, you know, this the flooding in Mokwa, in your view, didn't have anything to do with this particular outbreak. But that's, I mean, I get why you would say that. But the truth is, when we look at cholera in itself, unsafe drinking water, poor sanitation, and inadequate hygiene, these are some of the places where, when you have these situations, you know, then cholera will be rife in places like that. Following the flooding in Mokwa, what protective measures were put in place to ensure that those waters from those floods don't get into the drinking water of the communities? These 6 communities, Shiroro, Boso, Mina, Magama, Bida, and Munya. Can you categorically say that some things were put in place to ensure that those flood waters from Mokwa didn't sweep up all that dirt and debris and, you know, and all of those things into the drinking water that may have caused this? Can you say that categorically?
So like I explained earlier on, if you can hear me, the current outbreak has got nothing to do with Mokwa. The flood disaster in Mokwa is different, and these local governments are not even contiguous to Mokwa local government area. But the Ministry of Water Resources, in close collaboration with the Ministry of Environment, are putting in place measures to ensure that the waterways are clearly desalinated. We removed any blockages within the drainage system.
So, Dr. Dangana,
yeah.
Dr. Dangana, I need to answer my question, which is, you say that they are not related. My question is, what was put in place to ensure that the flood from Mokwa and all of that debris and dirt that it carried didn't get into the drinking water in Niger State, in any of the communities? Because water didn't just stay in Mokwa. It moved around. It dispersed into other parts of the state. So what was put in place to ensure that that didn't happen?
Well, if you have to understand the rivers and the drainage patterns. Like I said, the flood in Mokwa did not in any way travel to these affected local government areas. They are far removed from Mokwa. So the flood in Mokwa dissipated and dried off. It has its own natural channels of emptying. But for the affected local government areas, the Ministry of Environment, in conjunction with Water Resources, have already been on the field, and they have looked into the entire sources. We are looking at the likely source of infection. So measures have been put in place to ensure that people don't put refuse in these drainage pathways so that you don't end up having contaminations. And again, we are sensitizing the farmers and market women about ensuring that there is sanitation around the market and the food sources they provide. The Water Resources has also visited the water manufacturers and educated them on ensuring this is ongoing in all the water producing facilities, because it's very difficult to pinpoint the accurate source of infection. So it's to look at all the possible sources where you may likely have this infection and take the specific step needed, and that is what the state have done. And currently we are winning this fight. The number of cases has actually declining, not increasing.
All right, Dr. Dangana, we certainly will keep tabs on Niger State, and we do hope that, the incidences or the fatalities from this particular incident will certainly be on the down low, as you are hoping, because we understand that those who have largely been affected are children, and it's really heartbreaking to, to hear that, and we do hope that we're able to stem this particular tide of cholera in Niger State. Thank you so much for speaking with us this morning. Dr. Ibrahim Dangana is the Commissioner of the Primary Healthcare Development Agency in Niger State. Well, that's where we call it a day on this program this beautiful Friday morning. We've seen quite a bit of feedback from some of you watching this particular program, especially on the matter that had to do with the All Progressives Congress. I see this from Tom Egbele, and also from Festus Akimboyewa. Tom Egbele says, is being a staff of former executive of NEC a crime in Nigeria? No APC has never been absent in Plateau State. Nantawe is a good choice as chairman of APC. The scaremongering is unnecessary and uncalled for. That's the one I see from Tom Egbele here.
And Festus Akimboyewa says Professor Udenta should accept that the election of Professor Nantawe Yuwada from the North Central region as APC National Chairman reflects a carefully calculated move by party leadership, far from signs of disarray and the peace of the graveyard as portrayed by the professor. Those are some of the things that we've heard this morning. I want to thank you all for being a part of our morning, and enjoy your weekend. Be safe. I'm Kayla Megwa.
Well, we hope to be here same time next week. Business Morning is on top of the hour. Thank you for watching. I'm Maupe Ugu Yusuf, and I'll be back in Abuja soon, okay?